Hello and welcome to the second part to hopefully a good long-running series where I evaluate the pitch of my voice when being physically restrained from wankery. So since the last, or the prior episode being the first, I have abstained from wankery. Now, that isn't to say I've done my utmost to be in the best physical shape possible, but I have been looking after myself decently, gone out, walks, runs, plenty of time in the sun, eating at least once, though on average twice, for meals a day. Keeping myself within reason, clean enough. So I'm in the right of it to say I'm contented. I'm contented with my physiological and mental states. So now let's see if that will reflect well into the voice pitch analyzer. Let's start that up, and then we can get back to the old and delightful Sir Arthur Conan Doyle novel. Now, it has come to my mind, I can't impress with full verification the authenticity of this project and my not or my avoiding tinkering or cheating and scamming or I guess misleading in the process. So it just comes down to good faith, man. I can't prove that I have not been wankering. However, it is what it is. I'm content, and I'm saying that I have, and I have lived up to that part of the deal. So I can only at this point be as good as my word, because the only real way to prove it would be to have a camera, a third party, follow me around like the Office interviews, except for the entirety of the week, all 24/7, and that would be a level. And even then, when I went to the washroom, so no, I'm not going that far. And then even if I followed through with that, people could claim that it was doctored imagery and that there had been parts spliced or edited out. So there would be no pleasing absolutely everyone and having everyone confident that I had done what I set out to do. I'm at a dead end with that quandary of proof, authenticity, and verification. So we're just gonna get on with it. It is what it is. Trust me or not. So from the last, we got a minimum average of 99 HZ. I believe that's Hertz. And no one corrected me in the prior video. By the way, if you have any feedback to give me on matters of pronunciation or commentary on anything, so critiques, commentary, suggestions, propositions, what have you, please let me know. So, minimum average, 99 hertz. Max, and by the way, yeah, I have had 2 shots of whiskey, and very recently too, which was just before dinner, and that has sunk in. So that will be affecting my my mental state as I go about this. I enjoy it. Well, you can't expect me to be who I am and go about this in the absolute purest manner. No, I gotta enjoy drinks when they're offered to me. Come on, man. Hey, free 2 shots of whiskey. It's decent whiskey too. I'm not gonna turn the man down. Shit, that was quite tasty, and it definitely soothed my nerves. Now, enough stalling. Minimum average 99 hertz. Maximum average 158 hertz. Overall average 126 hertz. So let's check now the statistics. And that is where I sit from the 1st of May. It is now the 8th of May, 2024. We're on the same month. Now let me start up the recording. And we can now proceed to the text I care to read aloud. Alright, let me blow my nose first. I'm going to try and not get that on the recording, but yeah. The Penguin Sherlock Holmes Collection, A Study in Scarlet, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Quoted, The Literary Super Sleuth, by Daily Express. And we have the lovely penguin symbol with a background of orange and an oval on the bottom right. Chapter 1, page 3, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. In the year 1878, I took my degree of Doctor of Medicine of the University of London and proceeded to Netley to go through the course prescribed for surgeons in the army. Having completed my studies there, I was duly attached to the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers as assistant surgeon. The regiment was stationed in India at the time, and before I could join it, the Second Afghan War had broken out. On landing at Bombay, I learned that my corps had advanced through the passes and was deep in the enemy's country. I followed, however, with many other officers who were in the same situation as myself, and succeeded in reaching Kandahar in safety, where I found my regiment, and at once entered upon my new duties. The campaign brought honors and promotion to many, but for me it had nothing but misfortune and disaster. The campaign brought honors and promotion to many, but for me it had nothing but misfortune and disaster. I was removed from my brigade and attached to the Berkshires, with whom I served at the fatal Battle of Maiwand. There I was struck on the shoulder by a Jezail bullet, which shattered the bone and grazed the subclavian artery. I should have fallen into the hands of the murderous Gazis, had it not been for the devotion and courage shown by Murray, my orderly, who threw me across a pack horse and succeeded in bringing me safely to the British lines. It would be marvelous if I stopped saying and just got on with the text. Or if I insist on pausing between words, even though there's no period or comma, say nothing at all. Worn with pain and weak from prolonged hardships, which I had undergone, I was removed with a great train of wounded sufferers to the base hospital at Peshawar. Here I rallied, and had already improved so far as to be able to walk about the wards, and even to bask a little upon the veranda, when I was struck down by an enteric fever, that curse of our Indian possessions. For months my life was despaired of, and when I at last came to myself and became convalescent, I was so weak and emaciated that the medical board determined that Not a day should be lost in sending me back to England. That was so halting and confused that I'm going to restart. I am not in the best, most coherent and clear mental state to be reading text aloud. Wow. Worn with pain and weak from prolonged hardships which I had undergone, I was removed, with a great train of wounded sufferers, to the base hospital at Peshawar. Here I rallied, and had already improved so far as to be able to walk about the wards, and even to bask a little upon the veranda, when I was struck down by enteric fever, that curse of our Indian possessions. For months my life was despaired of, and when at last I came to myself and became convalescent, I was so weak and emaciated that the medical board determined that not a day should be lost in sending me back to England. I was dispatched accordingly in the troop ship Orontes, and landed a month later on the Portsmouth jetty, with my health irrevotably ruined, but with permission from paternal government to spend the next 9 months in attempting to improve it. I'm pausing to blow my nose again. I do not believe it's from a particular sickness or ailment besides allergies, which regardless is quite bothersome. But I don't know what can be done for it. I don't care to take extreme medication to overcome it, so it must just be born. Simply born. I had neither kith nor kin in England, and was therefore as free as air, or as free as an income of 11 shillings and 6 pence a day will permit a man to be. Under such circumstances, I naturally gravitated to London, that great cesspool into which all the loungers and idlers of the empire are irresistibly drained. There I stayed for some time at a private hotel in the Strand, leading a comfortless, meaningless existence, and spending as much money as I had, considerably more freely than I ought. So alarming did the state of my finances become, that I soon realized that I must either leave the metropolis and rusticate somewhere in the country, or that I must make a complete alteration in my style of living. Choosing the latter alternative, I began by making up my mind to leave the hotel, and to take up my quarters in some less pretentious and less expensive domicile. On the very day that I had come to this conclusion, I was standing at the Satyrian bar when someone tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around. Let me start over. I misspoke. Imagining words that aren't there, or just lazily cheating. No laziness. Restart. At the top of the line, on the very day that I had come to this conclusion, I was standing at the Satyrian bar when someone tapped me on the shoulder, and turning round, I recognized young Stamford, who had been a dresser under me at Bart's. The sight of a friendly face in the great wilderness of London is a pleasant thing indeed to a lonely man. In the old days, Stamford had never been a particular crony of mine, but now I hailed him with enthusiasm, and he, in turn, appeared to be delighted to see me. In the exuberance of my joy, I asked him to lunch with me at the Holborn, and we started off together in a hansom. "Whatever have you been doing with yourself, Watson?" he asked in undisguised wonder, as we rattled through the crowded London streets. "You are as thin as a lathe, and as brown as a nut." I gave him a short sketch of my adventures, and had I gave him a short sketch of my adventures, and had hardly concluded it by the time that we reached our destination. "Poor devil," he said, commiseratingly, after we had... Poor devil, he said, commiseratingly, after he had listened to my misfortunes. "What are you up to now?" "Looking for lodgings," I answered, "trying to solve the problem as to whether it is possible to get comfortable rooms at a reasonable price." "That's a strange thing," remarked my companion. "You are the second man today that has used that expression to me." "And who was the first?" I asked. "A fellow who is working at the chemical laboratory up at the hospital. He was bemoaning himself this morning because he could not get someone to go halves with him." And that is the end of page 3. Now all that's left for this episode is to conclude by reviewing the results of the recording. If it is still recording and all went according to plan and functional. Yes, it is still recording. Brilliant. Let's stop the recording. Well, gosh golly, the range is wide. The range is wide. The range is considerably wider than I would have expected. Well, what even can I expect? I don't even think I have enough presence of mind to be able to expect anything. Yeah, I'm not in the presence of mind to have expectations, frankly. Can barely even think of what to think or say or do next. I can barely organize my own thoughts and ideas to properly think about what to do or say next, let alone anticipating other things. So this is where we are in the graph for 2024, the year 05. That would be May, right? May is 05. Yeah, I'm just... oh, God. So, 2024, the year, 05, May, and 09 is the day. And then 7 p.m. That is 7:44 p.m. It's when the recording ended, not when the recording started. Alrighty, so pitch overtime. Wow. So we had some quite feminine spikes at the end, and almost verging on one in the middle, and at about the 60% mark, or the maybe 3/5. Yeah, 3/5 the way through. That. But we were pretty steady at the start, and around the middle. And just at the end. So, yeah. It would seem, reviewing these graphs, that it isn't just down entirely to my own physicality. It isn't just down to my own bodily instruments. It's down to how utilization as well as state. So I suppose the body sets the constraints, and then my mind, spirit, soul, and all that, and just the weather, I suppose, sets the way I'm going to implement my own capacities. So that means I can't rely on, at least for now, 1 week into this experiment, this enterprise, 1 week into it at least, my body isn't just hard locking me to sounding at the 120 hertz. range. Or lower even. It isn't hard locking me into that because my mind is not reining in all of my weird fluctuations. I am unsteady, as we can clearly see. Now let's check the details. General average is 117 hertz. Minimum is 67 hertz. Maximum 196 hertz. Minimum average 90. Maximum average 146. So now let's compare these with the prior for details. So that was the graph before on the overview. This is the graph now. Before. Didn't get very low. Quite wide. Still quite wide. Let's see if the range stayed the same, but the range dropped. The range dropped. So my span of vocalization has not shrunk, but almost the baseline has dropped. Yeah. The span, the vocal span has not slipped in the slightest. Yeah. So before, well far off from the 85.0, and now we're right up on the doorstep. Right up on the doorstep of the 85.0. And this is only the second episode and the first week of following through with this, with it being recorded. I wonder. I think this is promising in any case. Yeah, where will we be in a month or two from now if I keep at it? So now let's check the details to compare. So this is now. Where's before? Before, general average 126. And now 117. So we went down, I believe, by 9. We went down by 9 hertz over a week. And my maximum, let's compare that. Let's compare my minimum. So my minimum before, 73. And my minimum now, that's 67. So we went down in a minimum of 6. And the general average, we went down by 9. These are all very promising. The whole point of the test, I think, at least... No, this is where we could get into a debate. Should the point of the test be simply to evaluate whether keeping myself from wankery in and of itself physiologically makes me sound as I would want? Or should we also see if I can rein in the wild I'm searching for a word. The wild, frivolous, just pansiness. My what's it called? My fits and starts and spurts of sounding like a pansy. Can that and should that be reined in to affect the test? Because no doubt it would. If I focused and concentrated on keeping my voice at a steady pitch, maybe I could succeed in that. and no doubt it would lower the average. Now, I don't know if it would lower my minimum and my... It would definitely lower my maximum pitch. As we can clearly see, I'm speaking with a higher maximum. But would it lower my minimum? I don't know. Because that's what the average is, right? It's judging the minimum and the maximum over time. So, yeah. I lean on the side of not artificially or consciously affecting and restraining my voice. I think I'm going to be a purist, a pure vocal free-forming, a vocal free-spirited individual, and we're just going to go off of the raw physicality of keeping disciplined, keeping disciplined, and we'll see what the future will hold. See what the future will hold. That about does it.